They gave me 8 minutes to inspire you, and yet they couldn't do it in 4 years. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just putting pressure on myself. That's all I'm doing. I say that with love and respect because I so much love this place. Never did I ever think that I would be facing such a beautiful group of people. I thought my opportunity at this stage would spend the 5 to 10 seconds walking across, smiling, and getting off and never seeing this place again. Even though I always wanted to come back, and I love coming back to beautiful, wonderful UC Santa Barbara. First, I'd like to thank Chancellor Yang for allowing me to be here today to address all of you. And also, Dean Roop, thank you so much for having me and for sharing your stories with us last night at the dinner. The world for the next 10 years, hopefully, will be about what it was like for the last 10 years. Your personal life hopefully will be for the next 10 years what it was like for the last 10 years. And extrapolate that backward and forward for the last 20 and the next 20. But what's most important for all of us to understand, what this world is like for me has a lot to do with how I approach it, what I make of it, which is the same thing for you. As was mentioned earlier, a lot of people doubted me. A lot of people said some pretty nasty things to me. And those just weren't my little friends on the playground. Those are my teachers and counselors, and yes, sometimes police officers in the neighborhood that I grew up in, saying that I would never amount to anything. Luckily for me, that only made me pissed off. And for me to say, I'll show you. But with that heavy boulder of a chip on my shoulder, I came to this university as scared as could be, and the place that I called home was the library annex, because they never closed the annex. And as an engineering student and a scared engineering student, I spent many an evening not sleeping, but just studying. But when I made the Dean's Honors List, I went back to that 12th grade math teacher at my old high school who laughed in my face, who told me I couldn't cut it, who told me not to try it, that they would eat me alive, and to try junior college. I showed him those grades, but this is what I learned, ladies and gentlemen. This is what I learned. When I said hello to him, he looked at me with a blank stare. When I told him I sat in his classroom just a year ago, he still looked at me with a blank stare. And then when I showed him those grades, he said, those are really good grades, and I said, those are my grades. And you told me I couldn't cut it. And he still looked at me with a blank stare. I took that report card, and that was the day that I unloaded one hell of a boulder off my shoulder. And I realized that man does not love me. That man does not care about me. That person never cared about me and probably doesn't care about the dozens and hundreds of students that he had the privilege and honor to inspire, yet he didn't for so many years. And I walked away from that attitude, and I was a better person for it. The question for you, ladies and gentlemen, is what are you going to do in those moments when you know as a woman you didn't get promoted and that guy did? When you notice that you're getting all the work done and somebody else is taking all the credit, what are you going to do to make the best of it, to be the best, and to not allow that to make you less than who you should be? And those moments will come, ladies and gentlemen, to men and to women. They will come to all of us. But what will you do? How will I respond? What I've learned to do, and now I'm in a very, very important place, the United States Congress, where I'm one member of some of the most powerful men and women in the world. And yet, I believe that we can do better, yet we're not. Just a few days ago, some of us were practicing on a baseball field on one side of town, while some of our colleagues were practicing baseball on the other side of town in the morning, and somebody grabbed a rifle and started shooting at members of Congress. One of my colleagues, and I pray for him every day, is still in critical condition because of someone's response to how they believe they should respond to adversity, how they should respond to things that happen to all of us. I got to hug and tell a man, I love you, who was in crutches just one evening later, that he was one of the officers just who happened to be lucky enough to be there. And they took out that shooter, and he got shot. So I went up to him and I thanked him. And I said, can I give you a hug? And he smiled and he said, absolutely. This is a tough guy. And I gave him a hug and I said, I love you, thank you. I said, I love you, thank you. This is coming from someone whose mother and father never said, I love you, as long as I could remember. I come from a culture that when you're on somebody's knee and you're 1 and 2 years old, you get all the hugs in the world, you get all the I loves you in the world, but for some reason, it doesn't happen anymore. And I had to learn how to say I love you. My wife, Norma, and I have 4 children. And we tell them I love you every single day, even during their teenage years. That, ladies and gentlemen, is strength. Yes, even during their teenage years. That, ladies and gentlemen, is strength. The strength of love. The strength of commitment. The strength of knowing that we are so blessed, so fortunate to live in this great nation. And we should not take it for granted. There are too many places on the planet, ladies and gentlemen, where 9 out of 10 people never get to go to elementary school, never get to attend a middle school, never get to attend a high school, much less come to the place where you are at today. You are so fortunate and blessed because there was just enough people before you who cared enough to build this great institution and to keep it alive and to fund it. Just enough. But what I want you to understand today is that you have the opportunity to look in the mirror every single day and to say, who am I? What shall I become? How will I respond in my everyday life? Am I going to be beautiful? Am I going to be loving? Am I going to be caring? Or am I going to be angry? Am I going to be full of hate? Am I going to just try to tear things down instead of build things up? That is the individual choice. And nowhere on the planet do you have more freedom than you have as a United States citizen, as a resident of this country, as someone who walks on this earth in this country. I want to remind you, it's going to be interesting out there. It's going to be tough out there. It's going to be bad out there on some days. But the question to oneself is this: am I going to be bad or am I going to be good? Am I going to volunteer or I'm just going to complain? Am I going to go vote or am I just going to complain? Am I going to go ahead and be the positive in my environment, the positive in the moment? Am I going to want to lash out or am I going to want to give somebody a hug? That's the question that we are faced with every single day. And how I respond, how you respond, is going to make this country and this world better, or it's going to make it worse. With all the student loans, with all the interviews, with all of the things that you're going to have to consider, moving back in with your parents, Some people think, well, it's bad on the parents when you have to move back in. Well, if you move back in with a heavy heart, that's a good feeling. All joking aside, that's a good feeling. To be concerned, but not fret. To know that I always want to do better and be better every single day. That's the attitude to take in everything that we do. In everything that we do. And I'll leave you with this example. One of my former colleagues shared a great little story, and I'll summarize it for you. There's a person standing on the bank of a river, watching a little baby float by and drowning, and that person goes ahead and goes out there and saves that baby. Another person comes by, and then the other person says, I'm going to teach these little babies how to swim. Another person comes by, and then but they're arguing, okay? Another person says, come on, help me save these babies. The other one says, help me teach them how to swim. The other person says, excuse me, I'm going to go up the river and find out who the heck is putting those babies in the water. But the lesson that I took away from that example is this. Thank God, or thank the universe for the fact that those are three individuals who argue about what it is to do, but are always trying to do what's right and do what's best. That's what I took from that. So don't criticize the approach. Appreciate the consideration and the effort. And that, to me, is the moral of that story. Be the positive. Save one baby at a time. Teach them all how to swim. Go catch that you-know-what who's putting those babies in the water. And one last thing. I talk to children all the time, and I was told as a little boy, you too can be president of the United States, and I didn't believe him. But if ever anybody could say this, and it's true, anybody can be the president of the United States. Thank you very much.